Hi guys, my name's Alicia and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about my August TBR. So these are the books that I'm hoping to read in August. I definitely last month didn't do a good job of sticking to my TBR. So I am hoping that I do better this month. It is a bit, high achieving, but we'll see how it goes. Let's get into the books. So first up on my TBR, I have The Tiger at Midnight by Swati Thirdala. So this is a kind of Indian-inspired world. It's a fantasy book. I believe it's YA fantasy. So this book is basically about a young girl named Isha who is a secret assassin for the rebels, and so she is tasked with killing this ruthless general. And on the other side there's this young man named Kunal, and he is a soldier on the other side basically. So these two characters have a bit of a cat and mouse game, and they end up crossing paths and a lot of crazy events unfold basically. So I'm really excited about reading this book. It's a first in a series and I've heard great things about it, so I'm super excited about it. Then next up we have another fantasy read and a very popular read, and this is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So obviously a lot of people have heard about this book and a lot of people love it, so I'm hoping I do love it. I've read a few other books by V.E. Schwab, but I haven't really fell in love with any of her books, so I am hoping that this is one of them. But it's a really cool concept. It basically takes place in this alternate London where there's 4 other Londons, and they're each, I think, given a color. And I think there's like magic in some of them, or like in one of them or something. Basically the main character, Kel, is a traveler. So basically he can use magic to travel between these Londons, and he is a messenger, I think. So he is tasked with going through different Londons and, talking to people and helping people. But unofficially, Kel is a smuggler, and so he kind of, I think, ends up getting into a bad situation where he now has to be on the run. So he ends up in Grey London where he meets somebody named Delilah, and I think they kind of start off on the wrong foot because she robs him, but then she also saves him, and they start this kind of partners in crime thing, I think. So that's pretty much all I know about this book. I am really excited about it. I think the idea of like these different alternate Londons and like how the magic system works is going to be really interesting, and I am just very excited about this book. So next I want to read All American Muslim Girl by Nadine Jolly Courtney. So this book is a contemporary book, and it obviously is dealing with a Muslim girl whose name is Ali Abraham. So Ali is, I think, in a kind of small town, and she isn't like outwardly, you can't really tell that she's Muslim, like she's not a hijabi or anything. So she is dating the school's jock, and like has, is pretty popular, has good friends, and like dating a popular guy, and like has everything going for her. But basically she finds out that Jack, her boyfriend's family, is really conservative, and there's this like increasing amount of Islamophobia and racism in her community. And so because people, like, she hasn't really told people that she's Muslim because her parents don't practice and have kind of told her that like keep it to yourself, people don't know that she's Muslim, and so she has to kind of deal with this Islamophobia behind the scenes and like decide if she wants to come out and tell people that like this is her culture and her religion and this is who she is, like if she can accept that part of herself. So it just seems like a really important book, and I have heard a lot of good things about it, so I think it is going to be really impactful and powerful and do a good job of having, a kind of different representation of Muslim people, especially Muslim people in America. Only because I think a lot of books that I read that have Muslim representation are about hijabi Muslims, and they obviously deal with a completely different situation and circumstances. So yeah, I think this will be interesting. And as a Muslim myself that, outwardly you can't really tell, just by looking at me, that I am Muslim, I think this will be a very relatable read. So next I have The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. And first of all, this cover is just absolutely amazing. So excited because of that. But this is a Arabian Nights retelling, 1001 Nights, I believe is the name of the fairy tale. But I have actually read a few retellings of Arabian Nights, and I haven't loved many of them because I do think that this fairy tale is a interesting one. I don't necessarily love the original fairy tale itself because of the, issues with misogyny and consent and things like that. So I am excited to read this though because I have heard a lot of great things. It is pretty like old in terms of like the booktube community. I think a lot of people have read this book, but yeah, I am excited to read it. I don't know much about the book itself, like other than the fact that it is a retelling, so I'm interested to see what kind of take Renee Ahdieh takes on the original fairy tale and like if there's any new kind of things introduced. But yeah, overall pretty excited about reading this one. So this next book I'm actually really excited about reading, but it is Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q Sutanto. So this is a recently pretty hyped book. I think a lot of people have been talking about it, which is why I've been excited to read it. But it definitely is a more of a cozy mystery thriller book, and all that I really know about it is that it's about a young Asian woman who is on a blind date and somehow ends up accidentally killing her date, and then has to call in a bunch of aunties who are gonna help her dispose of this body and dealing with basically getting rid of this body and the aftermath of killing her date. So it definitely is a very funny and like interesting concept, and I have heard it's like a pretty funny and cute cozy mystery thriller book, so I am excited. It's giving me a lot of Finlay Donovan killing it vibes, so I'm definitely excited about that. I love that book, so I think this one is going to be really fun and interesting. I also think, we have some great representation. I believe it is a Indonesian family, or like the main character's family. So yeah, very good representation, and I'm super excited about this one. Next, I have a book that has been on my shelf for a really long time, and for some reason I was trying to pick out my TBR this month, and this one just spoke to me, so I was like, I have to read it. But that is The Night Tiger by Yangzi Shu. So I really don't know much about this book, but in the inside here it says, an utterly transporting novel set in 1930s colonial Malaysia, a world of servants and masters, age-old superstition and modern idealism, sibling rivalry and forbidden love. So that's the little blurb. So I don't know much about this book, but again, another beautiful cover, which I think is maybe why it spoke to me, but I have been wanting to read it for a while, and I have genuinely really loved a lot of the historical fiction books that I have read this year. So knowing that's a historical fiction, has some romance, has a lot of like not contemporary, but like it's dealing with a lot of like powerful, impactful themes. So I think I am really gonna love this one. So next I have another book that has also been on my shelf for a very long time, and that is Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis. So this book I actually had meant to read a few months ago, and I just never got around to it, but I am really excited about it. Another just, me, a beautiful, beautiful cover. So maybe another reason why I'm trying to read it. But I, again, don't really know much about it. I know it's a YA fantasy. So I have heard, not I guess comparisons, but maybe like the atmosphere and the vibe. It's very much like The Greatest Showman, like Caraval, like The Night Circus. And out of those, I've only seen The Greatest Showman. So I don't know about the other two books, but I am excited to read this book just based on that. But on the inside here, it does say, in a city covered in ice and ruin, a group of magicians face off in a daring game of magical feats to find the next headliner of the conquering circus. Fame and glory await the winner, but no contestant is safe when an unseen danger begins striking behind the scenes. So that sounds really cool, and I am very excited to read this. And then lastly, on my TBR, I have a book that I was hoping to read last month, but I didn't get around to it, and I definitely think it's going to be a really great summer read, and that is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I have read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I haven't gotten around to Daisy Jones and the Six, but I do know that this book has to do with one of the husbands, Mick Riva from Seven Husbands, his kids. So this book is based around that. And so Mick Riva was a very popular rock musician in The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and he was he wasn't necessarily like a super important husband in that book, but he was a pretty interesting character. I think like the kind of rock like rock and roll lifestyle, and like he was pretty like egotistical and like arrogant and things like that. And so this book, I think, is dealing with him as a father and how he was a bit of an absent father and how like his kids have dealt with that. So I'm really excited about this book. I think Taylor Jenkins Reid is a phenomenal author, and like her writing is absolutely beautiful, and just this world she sort of created with The Seven Husbands, Daisy Jones and the Six, as well as this book, in terms of like, you know, these are supposedly like famous people in these books, but after reading Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I really felt that Evelyn Hugo could be, you know, a real person in our world. And so yeah, I think like Taylor Jenkins Reid just does such a good job of bringing these characters to life and exposing so many like emotions and feelings and situations that people like in her books but also like in real life can go through. So yeah, I'm super excited about this one, and I think it is like perfect summer vibes, even with this cover, like just beautiful. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one as well.